2022, one of the most eventful years for Pokemon we've had in a long time, is coming to an end. There were highs and there were lows, some changes that were loved and some that weren't as much. Nevertheless, no matter what your stance on the year is, one thing is for certain, and that is that the franchise as a whole is in a very different position now compared to where it was at the beginning of 2022. So before we turn our heads to 2023 and what it has in store for the Pokemon franchise, I thought it would be a good idea to revisit the emotional roller coaster that we as Pokemon fans got to experience this year. So without further ado, let's rewind the tape to the beginning of 2022. On January 28th, we got to see a glimpse of passion. A glimpse of passion from Game Freak and the Pokemon Company. This game truly was and felt like a passion project, and I mean that in the best way possible. The dream of an entire Pokemon game, being openly explorable areas where Pokemon roam and thrive freely, was exactly that before Legend Arceus. A dream. And while the game has its flaws and complications, it did kind of make that dream come true. So what exactly was new? Okay, so firstly, we got a semi-open world map, where the map was split into multiple, mind you, quite large sections, which were all openly explorable. It's only semi-open world since there were loading screens between these sections and also when entering the main village, Jubilife Village. This is the village that would later become Jubilife City in the future, since these games are set in the Sinnoh region's past, or Hisui, how it used to be called back then. The sections were all themed after different biomes, and according to said biome, you could find Pokemon wandering around. Now, here's the true breakthrough of this game. This was the first time in a Pokemon game where you were literally able to just walk up to a Pokemon and chuck a ball at it. That sounds so simple, but honestly, it's quite revolutionary for the Pokemon franchise, and without a question, this is how all future mainline Pokemon games will and should look like. This truly feels like Pokemon's true form. It's like what it was always meant to be. And it's not like they did a bad job implementing it either. I actually feel like the catching mechanics are the single best thing about the game. And being able to sneak up on Pokemon, or confronting them directly, or sniping them out of the sky, makes the world feel so much more alive than it ever has. We were also blessed with overworld transitional battles. So instead of loading into a battle screen, you throw a Pokeball at any wild Pokemon and you will battle it, right there on the spot. However, if you weren't careful, your character would be attacked by wild Pokemon, another first for the mainline Pokemon franchise. This game made your surroundings feel even more alive, since the Pokemon weren't just standing there waiting for you to catch them. And speaking of interactive surrounding, the so-called alpha Pokemon were a threat to be reckoned with. It wouldn't be a rare occurrence to have an alpha Snorlax absolutely dunk on you. And not even your Pokemon, nope, these alphas came straight for you. It was refreshing. In older Pokemon games, your mother would tell you,
"Oh, don't go into tall grass without Pokemon, it's dangerous."
Here they're just like, "Oh, hey, you can do whatever you want, but the Pokemon might just, well,
kill you."
Also, there's water which looks like you can swim in it, but if you try to do so, you
are going to drown.
But hey, have fun in your adventure. Gym leaders weren't a thing either in this game, rather you had to fight frenzied Pokemon and calm them down. Yes, you had to fight them, not your Pokemon. So we went from battling with Pokemon to running from dear life from massive, enraged boss Pokemon. I must say, overall some pretty decent changes, I'd say. Good job, Game Freak. Hisuian Pokemon were also introduced, with some being more liked than others, but for the most part, these regional variants were greeted with open arms by the community. Some of the best ones we got were Psycho Bird, whatever this monstrosity is, Mr. I'm cool when I have my flames out, and Wooden Electrode. My personal favorite has got to be Hisuian Zoroark. Not only does this look amazing, but it has the coolest typing I have ever seen, Normal and Ghost. It's kinda busted, I can't lie. The Sinnoh box legendaries got a new, or I guess old redesign, which made Dialga look like it has a giant piece of something stuck in its throat, and Palkia, well, Palkia grew wings and lost its arms. Yeah. Of course, we got a ton of quality of life changes that were added to help you get by in Ancient Sinnoh. This included intuitive crafting, a good storage system, an inventory system, obviously, easy move relearning, and being able to manually evolve a Pokemon when it reaches its condition for evolution. Small things like the remix of Cynthia's theme when battling against one of her ancestors really made you feel that the characters and the world you interacted with was Sinnoh, just a little bit older and different. After all that, it still feels like the Legends Arceus saga went by oddly fast. It went by fast because pretty shortly after its release, a trailer for the next games had already released, and that got everyone hyped for Pokemon's first mainline entry since 2019. On the 27th of February, the announcement trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet released. The hype season for Generation 9 had officially started. There was a ton of insane fan art going around, rumors and leakers were taking over Reddit and 4chan, and the memes, oh god, the memes were rampaging. I think it's fair to say that Lechonk is Pokemon of the Year, right? Yeah, definitely. Besides some questionable design choices and some early suspicions of performance issues, the general vibe from the community towards these games was overly positive during the hype season. This was mainly due to the games being the first fully open world Pokemon games. Unlike Legends Arceus, these games would not have any loading screens between open areas, towns or cities, but the whole experience was supposed to be seamless and immersive. And I'm really stressing supposed here. The theme for this year's mainline entries were past and future, which to be honest was pretty obvious when looking at a prehistoric lizard and a futuristic looking d***. This meant we got past and future forms of Pokemon called Paradox Pokemon. I think there's a quite unanimous opinion among all Pokemon fans that most of them are just f***ing sick. Are you kidding me? Iron Tyranitar, Ancient Salamence, Cybermoth, and Ancient Elephant? I mean, some of these designs were the best designs we've gotten probably ever. Also, for some reason, they made Delibird absolutely OP. I mean, I'm not even kidding. This thing will sweep your team. That's kind of amazing. As much as we were hyped up for these games, the release date was fast approaching, and that meant that games started getting into people's hands. And you could imagine that it didn't take long for people to find out what was wrong with these games. They were kinda unfinished. Bugs and performance issues plagued the games, yet fans remained hopeful that the Day 1 patch would fix all these issues and restore balance to the world of Pokemon. But knowing Game Freak and knowing Pokemon, we all deep down knew that we were all just on an ungodly amount of copium. We could probably play Star Citizen on the Switch and have that run like butter compared to these two games. I mean, okay, maybe I'm over-exaggerating a little bit, but the point is they run like shit. But you know, maybe they make up for it by looking nice, right? I mean, if you're gonna be laggy, you better be laggy for a reason. Surely you're laggy because the game is loading in beautiful assets and textures, right? Well, let's look at it from a bright side. The Baldean Pokemon designs were actually pretty pog. Especially Clogsire, man, he's just so friggin' round. And I have to give Game Freak some credit here, because no matter how shitty and unacceptable the state of their games are, they're always very fun to play. And Gen 9, once again, is a step in the right direction, right? I mean, the franchise really is making baby steps, but at least it's making steps. And at least in some areas. I don't usually cover the Pokemon anime on this channel, but what happened in the anime recently is something that doesn't only affect those who are actively watching the anime, but it affects the entire community. One might even say it affects the internet itself. Ash Ketchum is leaving the Pokemon anime. Yep, the Ash. I don't think I've even properly wrapped my head around this yet. It does take a while to digest. He's been with us since the beginning, and it kind of feels like he is the Pokemon anime. By introducing new main characters, the Pokemon Company is taking a massive risk, but I respect them for taking that risk. No one can deny that seeing Ash be 10 years old for an eternity was well, starting to become old. We need a change. And so, with one last glance of all of Ash's trophies he secured for himself in various regions, and one final teaser of his dad, we finally part ways. Thank you, Ash. You will be remembered. What a year it has been. Overall, I'd say it's been a pretty above average year. Regardless of the many changes that the franchise has gone through since its early days, I still love Pokemon, and seeing it grow even more every year, seeing so many just enjoy the games like I do, brings me so much happiness. And if you enjoyed this video and it brought happiness to you, and you would like to see more content like this, you will be very well taken care of by subscribing to the channel. I hope everyone has a blessed Christmas. For those who didn't celebrate Christmas, I hope you're healthy, I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're still enjoying Pokemon just like the rest of us. I'm not going to set any expectations and hopes yet for 2023 Gen 5 remakes, but I have a feeling that we will be well taken care of by our friends at Game Freak. That'll be it for me for this time, and thank you all for watching.